So we've been talking about transitions within paragraphs and now between paragraphs. So here's an example of a paragraph with good transitions, or rather an article with good transitions. Traveling is my life. I work every day to fund my next trip. When I was 22, I went on my first trip by myself. I went to the Netherlands, Scotland, and Ireland. After that trip, I knew that I would spend the rest of my life traveling. I am so addicted to traveling that if I am not traveling, I'm planning my next trip. Since I'm addicted to traveling, I make sure to stay on top of the latest deals. I receive many emails a day from different traveling websites. Sherman's Travel and Travelzoo are two of my favorites. When I open my email, the first thing I see is sale, $500 all-inclusive 5 nights in Hawaii. In my mind, I'm already there. I am imagining myself lying on the beach, far away from my daily responsibilities. Okay, so lots of good details here. The key thing that I want to point out here is that since I am addicted to traveling refers to this whole first section where the student has talked about how he is addicted to travel. As if receiving constant emails about deals wasn't enough. Again, this whole paragraph is about the deals from various travel websites that he gets. And so this connects in meaning. It shows us that this paragraph is going to continue with something to do with traveling. I recently paid to receive a monthly magazine called Budget Travel. I knew this would help feed my addiction while I am saving for my next trip. This is one of the best traveling magazines I've ever found. Okay, so this person's outline for the essay said, staying on top of the latest deals, getting, this paragraph's about how to find out about those deals through email. This is about how to find tips for travel from magazines. All right. This, again, here's a paragraph that goes on to something else, but it refers back to magazines and websites, which is what we just looked at. It doesn't compare to actually traveling. So I decided to get a job that paid me to travel because I just couldn't afford my habit. I worked for a company called Off-Road, where I would lead bicycle trips. It was a hard job, but I got to spend 2 months living and working in France's wine country. I also went to the South and stood on the red carpet where they hold the Cannes Film Festival. Riding bikes all summer was great. Traveling around France was incredible, but the job was too much work and not enough play. So although it fed my travel addiction, I knew that job wasn't for me. Although I am no longer working for the traveling company, I have still managed to travel on my limited budget. I am currently planning a trip to Vancouver next month. I love to travel so much that I subscribe to both magazine and online sources to feed my addiction. He's already talked about that. But again, what I wanted to point out is this part of the sentence that links back to this paragraph about working for a travel company. So again, that's a great way to link these different sentences, the different paragraphs about travel together. This really works for me. All right, so in your paper, what might that look like? So you have a whole list. If you were doing the sustainability paper, you have a whole list of things that the fleet does to recycle, reuse, repurpose items. How are you going to bring that together? So I've tried to give you some examples here. We first learn about how the fleet recycles everything in the prologue when Kip notices the contrast between the Elouan's shiny outfits and the patches on Exodus clothes. Kip wished he could get brand new clothes like the ones the import merchants hung outside their stalls. Everybody wanted to look good for the Elouans. Since the Elouans were rulers of the galaxy and were doing the humans a favor in helping dispose of their dead, everyone wanted to show them respect by dressing up. Again, that's a nice quotation sandwich, I think. Again, explaining what this quotation has to do with anything, the context for it, giving the quotation, Kip wanting new clothes, and then explaining why, even though their clothes were patched and a little tatty, they were the best the people had, and why they wanted to wear those clothes. Okay, so first is a good transition word about what's going to happen first. That's easy. But the next paragraph is the real kicker. How do you connect the next item that shows recycling? And in my outline, I had, here's Kip as a little boy, a boy 11, thinking that, being ashamed of the fact that his people are so tatty and wear such ragged clothes. And I want to talk about the fact that when he goes to the museum at the end of the book in college, he in fact shows how much he has ingrained in his mind the idea of make, do, and mend. Though Kip as a young boy rebels against the tradition of make, do, and mend. That's talking about Kip wanting better clothes. He doesn't want to wear hand-me-downs anymore. Kip as a young boy rebels against the tradition of make, do, and mend. We see that when he is older, Kip proves he has internalized the values of his community when he handles relics in the museum in college, because he assumes everyone would try to fix valuable tools. That's very much a fleet idea. We don't have somewhere to get other tools. We have to fix the ones that we have. And I think that is a good, certainly a good sentiment. I would follow this, there wasn't room on this slide, I would follow this with a quotation about Kip handling the relics and getting in trouble for it. But my point here is to show you, here are two different ideas. This example is Kip noticing that everybody's clothes are patched from the fleet. And the second one, Kip wanting to fix the relics, fix the machines that are in the museum, and being told, no, you can't touch those. Because we're not going to fix them. We're just keeping them to look at. And that doesn't make sense to me because he thinks you use everything. Again, what's the point? I'm showing you this is the first point that I'm going to talk about, and then I refer back to that point in the first sentence of the paragraph that follows. So I'm showing logically how these two paragraphs are about a similar idea. And that's what I need you to do in your papers. I want you to join together, even though this is a collection of examples of whatever thesis you chose, even though it's a collection of examples, I want you to be sure to link those together at the beginning of every paragraph. There should be some kind of reference to the idea that came before it. So they're not just a bunch of paragraphs that could go in any order. You decide on an order that makes sense. I chose chronological. Again, I chose chronological because I thought that would be easiest for readers to follow. Again, here's my outline for how I organized the paper. And it's basically the order that in which things happened in the book, more or less. And I left human composting because it seemed the most serious idea last. Again, you don't have to organize it this way, but if you do, you have to show in your paragraphs, you have to move smoothly from one idea to the next and explain how they are related. And that's what I'm trying to get at, ways that you can do that here. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing your papers at peer review on Friday.